the surreal war of words escalating between his father, LeVar Ball, and President Trump after Ball's son, one of the UCLA basketball players, was released by China for shoplifting. The two, of course, have been arguing over whether Ball should thank the president for helping. LeVar Ball is not, and that inspired the president to tweet a slew of insults today, among them writing that it was he alone, the president alone, who got China to release Ball's son and two other UCLA basketball players. President Trump then went on to call LeVar Ball a quote, ungrateful fool and a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair. Okay? So let's begin there. With me now, stand-in political commentator Marc Lamont Hill and Bradford Cohen, lawyer and former Apprentice contestant who supports President Trump. Gentlemen, nice to have you both on.
Good to be here.
Mark, just to you first. I mean, the quotes I just read, ungrateful fool and poor man's Don King. Chris Cillizza here at CNN is calling this a racial dog whistle. Do you agree?
It feels like a racial dog whistle. The entire time, there's an undertone of, you should be grateful to me, you know, these uppity black people. And this isn't just because of LeVar Ball. It starts with the NFL, where, again, he talks about these highly paid athletes who should be grateful to be in the NFL. This discourse, it keeps recurring about, and it seems to be directed largely to black people. Let me be clear. Donald Trump is an equal opportunity jerk when it comes to celebrities. I mean, he goes after Meryl Streep, he goes after anybody. But when it comes to athletes in particular, there's a sense of you should be grateful. And this is narcissistic, this is arrogant, this is bizarrely unprofessional and unpresidential. But there's also a racial undertone to this that's really disturbing.
Bradford, how do you see it?
Exactly the opposite. I mean, listen, you know, first of all, the hair comment, I feel for him. But Donald Trump and Don King have been friends for probably 40 years. They've known each other for a very long time. I know personally that they're friends. So the thing is, there's nothing racial about it. He, you know, his son stole things in China at an LV store. I mean, how disgusting is it? You're going over to China on a full ride scholarship with UCLA, and you end up stealing something there. And then Donald Trump steps in and says, you know, these kids, they made a mistake. Let's release them. This is crazy. Let's do something for them. And they get released. And then there's no thank you. Now, you know, how is that right? I don't care if you're purple, blue, black, yellow. I don't care what you are. You thank someone for going out of their way and helping someone who stole something. In America, that would have been a grand theft. And a grand theft is punishable by a felony. In China, it's even worse. You could get 3-year minimum mandatories. These are 3 guys that are ungrateful guys that don't thank anyone. Race has nothing to do with it. They could be any color of the rainbow. You thank somebody. He went out of his way, right. even if he wasn't solely the only person responsible to release these guys, right? Even if he wasn't, he went out of his way to mention them and to say, listen, these are kids that made a mistake, and let's take a step back and let's release them. And they were released. So I think they're ungrateful. I think Donald Trump's statements are 100% true.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Right. So, I mean, you're largely debating things that aren't in dispute. You made the point that he and Don King are friends, not in dispute. You made the point that stealing is wrong, not in dispute. You made the point that it's a big crime in China, not in dispute. Not in dispute. You made the point that you should say sorry, or you should say thank you if someone does something for you, not in dispute. No one is disputing those things. What's in dispute is whether or not Donald Trump's reaction to LeVar Ball has a racial undertone to it. And comparing him to Don King, calling him an ungrateful fool is an unrelated issue to almost everything else that you raised. And again, if this were just an isolated incident, I would feel for you. I'd say, you know what, maybe this is just Donald Trump being a jerk. I mean, the best case scenario here is that he's being narcissistic and unprofessional. But the problem is this is linked to a series of things. Donald Trump has a long history of racial and racist tweets and actions. And because of that, it's very easy to connect this.
Let me jump in, and Bradford, I want you to respond. But so this Sean King, activist, tweeted this out about Trump's tweets in the last couple of days. If you are struggling to understand why Trump has criticized LeVar Ball and Marshawn Lynch more than Roy Moore, it's because conservatives have made it very clear that a white Republican pedophile bothers them far less than a free black man.
Exactly.
Bradford.
Listen.
Where's the president's moral compass?
Listen, what he tweets about is what he tweets about. In terms of people that he likes and doesn't like,
what does
he's
that
not
mean?
a racist. It's because I'll tell you what it means. It means that this has nothing to do with race. For us to jump to the conclusion that this has somehow something to do with race, that someone didn't say thank you for him going out of his way to get them released, and then LeVar Ball goes on TV and says, well, I would have said thank you if they were flown home on Air Force One. I mean, this guy's a lunatic. I think he's absolutely out of his mind.
Right, but again, that's not the point. You're arguing against things that aren't in dispute. The question is, why does Donald Trump focus on particular people as opposed to others?
I'll tell you why. Because Donald Trump goes on the offense. If you hit at Donald Trump, he's going to hit you back. Roy Moore has not hit at Donald Trump. So I will tell you, I'm going to give you your answer. Let me answer your
Well, I didn't ask the question. Let me ask the question. No, that's not my question. Let me be clear about my questions. When you look at the tiki torches in Virginia, no one was on the offensive. When you look at Colin Kaepernick, he wasn't on the offensive. Yet he targeted those people, and he doesn't target Roy Moore, and he doesn't target other people who have committed far more heinous acts. Why is that? That's the question.
That's not true. That's not true. If you look at his tweets as a whole, when he gets attacked, he's attacked. If something bothers him, he's going to tweet about it. If someone doesn't stand
So why doesn't Roy Moore bother him? That's the question. Why didn't the tiki torches bother him more than the Black Lives Matter activists who resisted them? Why does Colin Kaepernick bother him?
It has nothing to do with that. You're taking one thing and adding in another. Why does it not?
No, you said he tweets when he's bothered.
He didn't say it bothers him or doesn't bother him. What he said was
that exactly.
He's saying until there's evidence,
should bother him.
No, that's not what he said. He's saying everyone has a presumption of innocence. Am I correct? So we don't know all the facts.
In a court of law.
Nor do we know all the facts behind a lot of things. But when it comes to Ball, we know all the facts, and that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about three kids that stole something from a store, and he got them released. There's a kid in North Korea that stole a poster that spent 15 years, that got a sentence of 15 years in prison, and then he died. Okay? So to not thank Donald Trump for what he did for this is disgusting. That's what we're talking about.
But that's not what
it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with white, black, or purple. You turn this into a racial thing, and it's not a racial thing.
Okay.
That's part of what we're talking about. No, it's not the end of the story. You don't get to decide when the end of the story is. Brooke might be about to say it's the end of the story, but it's not the end of the story.
I think we're at the end of the story.
Fine, Brooke.
For now, it's all right. We wanted to have both of y'all on. I wanted to hear the perspectives. It's fascinating how so totally far apart, people could be on this very issue that's so important. Bradford and Mark, I thank you all so much. Thank you both.
Thanks, Brooke.
We'll continue the conversation here. I am sure in the coming days, especially as we talk more about Roy Moore and other tweets. Remember, he's at Mar-a-Lago where he can get tweet-tastic. Coming up next year, CBS says 3 more women.
All right, a big policy move is underway. The Trump administration making a move that's likely to have a negative impact on thousands of Haitian immigrants in the U.S. Here to discuss, CNN political commentator Jason Miller, a former senior communications advisor for the Trump campaign, and political commentator Simone Sanders, former press secretary for Bernie Sanders. Good to have you both here. If I don't speak to you again, happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for both of you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Chris.
So, Jason, temporary, yes, but it has not been practiced that way by consecutive administrations. The idea that it's okay to go back to Haiti is an absurd premise based on what's going on there, but that's what the U.S. government is saying. It's okay to go back now. Is this the right move?
Well, Chris, I think we're seeing a little bit of selective outrage here when this is something where we've seen the temporary protected status revoked for folks who come from, say, Bosnia or from El Salvador in the past. We're going to see it from Honduras and also from people who are here from Sudan. But I think we're kind of missing the big picture here that the U.S. is the most caring, the most giving country on the entire planet. You think of just last year, we let in 85,000 refugees. We paid for 22% of the UN's budget. Mm-hmm. But at a certain point, we can't take care of everybody on the planet. And so the fact that we have 59,000 Haitians who are here in the country, brought them here after 2010, after the horrific earthquake and then the mudslides that killed tens of thousands of people, they were brought here under temporary protected status. Mm-hmm. They weren't given permanent citizenship. And so at a certain point, we can't just continue to cover these folks forever. I mean, and I think that's part of the thing that the president's doing is saying, okay, we got to put America first. We want to be caring, want to be giving and help people, but it can't go on a perpetuity.
All right, Simone, it comes down to one word. Temporary. What's your take?
my take is that Haitians just have not started coming to the United States since 2010. There have been Haitians who have, made America their home since the 1960s. So this is a practice that has happened well over a number of administrations, both Republican and Democratic. So I think what's really problematic here is, one, a lot of these folks are Haitian Americans. Their children, all they know is America. So I think, and they're contributing, tax-paying citizens of the United States of America. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Donald Trump went to Miami during the campaign, during the general election, and he spoke to the Little Haiti Cultural Center, and he told them he wanted to be a champion for their community. He said, whether you vote for me or not, I want to be a champion. Give me a chance to be your ally. And he made a promise to that community. And today we see that Donald Trump and his administration have not kept their promise to the Haitian people.
You have a political issue, which is it looks like you're playing us and them, and these are the others. Now it's the Haitians, maybe the Nicaraguans. We'll feel who else gets thrown in that bucket. The practical problem is, how do you get them out? What do you do here? You have thousands and thousands of people. So they have kids who were born here. What do you do with those kids? What are you going to round them up? We're back to the practicality, the second line problem. I get why the first line is a good sell to the base. I'm going to be tough. We're going to crack down on immigration. We've got too many people here who don't belong. But how are you going to do it?
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind with these 59,000 Haitians who are here, 16,000 have already applied for and received some type of permanent status. And so there is a big group of folks who will be staying here. And I think in a very humane way, the way that the Homeland Security laid this out, there is an 18-month period. And so I think one of the things, Chris, you're talking about still, yes, obviously Haiti still has a number of challenges. But when you talk about folks who are living in those emergency camps in Haiti, 97% of those people have already either gone home or gone on to new homes. So they've improved markedly. I mean, they have it's gotten a lot better, Chris.
Jason, they have tens of thousands of people in Haiti.
Haiti
they're saying they
can't
stay in Haiti because the conditions are so terrible. Go ahead, Simone, you make the point.
Haiti has still been devastated from Hurricane Matthew. There was recently a cholera outbreak, and there's political instability. There is nothing okay about kicking, because that's what's happening, kicking thousands of Haitians, a lot of them Haitian Americans, out of the United States of America and sending them back to those type of circumstances.
So then what are you supposed to do, Simone? What's the answer? It is a temporary program, so what do you do?
Well, I think we have to reevaluate it, but the answer is not kicking, folks out. What happened specifically this week, except for a deadline of January 22nd, 2018, that made the administration say, look, these Haitians have to go? Why do the Haitians have to leave? I think there is definitely something to be said about the fact that the Trump administration seems to be targeting people of color.
But Simone, where's the outrage over folks who have to go back to Honduras or who have to go back to Sudan? I mean, at a certain point,
there was outrage over the Muslim ban. I mean, look, but what did the Haitians do? If you could just explain to me what specifically has happened, that it is urgent that thousands and thousands of Haitians, a lot of them Haitian Americans, now have to be expelled from the United States of America.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. Because it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to do you a favor. You know what happened, Simone? An election. And a man who won for president by saying, I'm going to change how we do immigration. This is something that he can actually do to show that he's going to act on that promise. Whether it's the right thing to do, we'll see. And then you know whose hands it really falls into? Congress. Just like DACA, they're going to have to figure out if they're going to do something to help these people. Again, there's more pressure on them. Jason, Simone, the best to both of you. Thank you for your ideas here on the show tonight. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back,